You have never been afraid of failing. You are afraid of almost succeeding and still not being enough. Think about the project you abandoned 3 months before it would have worked. Think about the relationship you ended just as it was becoming something real. Think about the version of yourself you were building, the discipline, the focus, the new way of being that you dismantled quietly the week before it became a habit. You called it self-sabotage. You called it fear. You called it your pattern. The Norse had a different name for it. They called it Ragnarok. In Norse mythology, Ragnarok is the end of everything. The gods die. The earth is swallowed. The cosmos collapses. But here is what most people miss. The gods knew it was coming. Odin knew. Thor knew. Freyr knew. They had been told the exact shape of their own destruction and the precise moment it would arrive. And knowing this, they did not run. They did not hide. They did not try to prevent it. They prepared for it. They trained for the final battle they already knew they would lose. There is something in the human mind that mirrors this exactly. When we sense that something could actually work, when we feel the proximity of something real, something we have wanted for a long time, a part of us begins to prepare for the destruction of it. Not because we are broken, because the idea of almost having it and losing it anyway is more unbearable than never having had it at all. The Ragnarök pattern has 4 phases. The first, you stop doing the thing that is working exactly when the results begin to show. Not when it gets hard, after it gets hard. When it gets easy, that is when you stop. The second, you introduce chaos into the relationship the moment the other person demonstrates they are actually staying, not when they might leave, when it is clear they won't. The third, you procrastinate on the final step, not the research, not the preparation, the sending of the email, the publishing of the thing, the specific action that makes it real and therefore possible to fail at. The fourth, you redefine the goal when you are within reach of it, moving the finish line because finishing means discovering whether you were enough. The Norse gods walked toward their destruction with full knowledge of what was coming. You walk away from yours before the battle even begins. The gods of Norse mythology were not destroyed by their enemies. They were destroyed by the fulfillment of what they always knew was coming. There is a specific kind of grief that only belongs to people who can see exactly what they are about to lose, because they have lost it before. You know how this ends. You have seen this version of yourself get close to something real and then watch it fall apart. And so you end it first. You call it a choice. You call it clarity. You call it knowing yourself. What the Norse understood that we have forgotten is that the destruction you are most afraid of has already happened. You are living in its aftermath and calling it the present. What if the Ragnarök pattern is not a flaw in your character? What if it is a reasonable response to a very specific experience? The experience of trying your hardest and still discovering that you were not enough. The pattern does not run when things are failing. It runs when things are about to succeed, because success is when the verdict arrives, and you are terrified of the verdict. Not the failure verdict, the almost enough verdict. The one that says, you were close, but the thing you were most afraid of about yourself turned out to be true. You are not afraid of failing. You are afraid of almost succeeding. The Norse gods did not try to prevent Ragnarök. They did not try to escape it. They trained for it. They showed up to the battle they knew they would lose, and they fought anyway. Not because winning was possible, because showing up was what they were. There is a version of you that has been training for the battle you keep walking away from. Not the battle of succeeding, the battle of surviving the verdict. The battle of finding out who you are when the result comes in. The Ragnarök pattern is not a character flaw. It is a grief response. It is what a person does when they have been almost enough before and learned that almost is the most expensive word in the language. So ask yourself, what would you finish if you were no longer protecting yourself from the verdict?